So, like I said, I've been here for about 3 years now, in fact, over 3 years. And when I first started here, ESB was the way of everything. We did everything point to point. And when you think about things in an integration-based world, you're thinking about, just like I discussed earlier, I have a set of things I want to accomplish, and I'm going to do them in some type of order, and what I'm going to end up with are compartmentalized solutions. So what I've drawn here in this slide is, the pieces involved in Salesforce to NetSuite, the pieces involved in customer onboarding, the pieces that would be involved in employee onboarding. And when you look at it this way, it's like, great, all of them work, but you'll notice that I've reused a bunch of components here. You'll notice that I've got Slack in every slide because every one of these used Slack in some way. I'm sending an email with some of these, or I'm sending an SMS message. Maybe I need to log. Like I'm doing this, I'm doing it every time. Even if it is a copy-paste operation, once the integration is in the wild, to modify it or to update it, I have to open every integration, change what I want to change in every one of them. And while that may be easy at 3 integrations, it's not going to be easy at dozens of integrations. It's going to take a lot of time. And at MuleSoft, I've been fortunate to be here through the evolution of API-led thinking, where we went from point to point, solving problems individually, to this notion of API-led, this notion of reusable components. And that's actually what we do. So there was this set of integrations that we did before API-led thinking that were in production. And as needs have changed over time, we've actually refactored them. So what it looks more like now is this. This is really the beginnings of MuleSoft's application network. On the left over here, we have all of the things associated with messaging. We have an API in front of them, and then we have one API that brings these all together, and now it's reusable across all of our integrations. So if one of my developers wants to send an SMS message, all they really need to do is call the process layer API for we call it logging, and they can do that. So if we need to make changes to anything underneath that API, we can make those changes, and nobody has to refactor any integrations anymore. It just happens. Like the features are there, the capabilities are there. Everything's reusable, which means we can move a lot faster. And this way of thinking, I can't emphasize enough, is from an IT perspective, is really just where the gold is for us. It allows us to get a lot of scale, a lot of reusability without putting a lot of extra work into it. In fact, it's less overhead than doing it any other way. So MuleSoft provides us with a way to do this without adding overhead to our solution, and in fact, making things a lot more streamlined. From the standpoint of our finance integration, so most of the integrations that we had in production were all finance related. We had 3 or 4 of them that were in production every day. And recently there was a huge change to NetSuite. There was a big change that was pushed, and it actually was going to break all of our integrations. And since they were point-to-point integrations, we said, you know what? It's going to take a little bit of a shift here in the way we think about it, but we already know how to do API-led. Rather than refactoring them and just fixing the integrations, let's just build them API-led. Let's put the APIs out there first. So instead of pose one opportunity in Salesforce being copied into an invoice object in NetSuite, we made an invoice API and an orders API, and basically then married those two together as a very fast integration. Now the invoice API is reusable. Now the orders API is reusable. So we actually got more out of it. I mean, who doesn't want to hear that, like, hey, I put some effort into something and I got a 10x return on it, right? I put some effort into something and I got a huge yield out of it. Who doesn't want to hear that, right? Well, I know I do. I know I want to hear that. I know that I want to hear that when my team is developing work and they're doing work, I want to hear that we're able to reuse that work, and that if we need to modify something or change it, that it's really fast. And that it's in a format that's easy to explain and easy for the other members of the team to come up to speed on when their teammates go over it with them. So it's a huge win in a lot of ways. This is a real world scenario where we refactored something that was done the old way into the new way, and we're getting yields out of that. And now the projects down the road will go much faster for us. We've also automated employee onboarding, and you can think about that from the standpoint of we have a process that uses all of these pieces that we've got. We've got the ability to provision users in some of these SaaS systems. We're using our logging API to send SMS notifications or emails. It's all reusable components. To give you an example with the emails in particular, the service that we put the API in front of has a ability to put a tracking pixel in the emails, so we can actually also see if people have read them. So part of the functionality we got out of building this is that when employee onboarding is going on, we can actually verify if the new hire opened their email before they start. And we actually have a rule that says if the new employee hasn't opened their email 3 days before they start, like notify the hiring manager. There might be something, like they might not have read it. so that when people are getting onboarded, they start on day one and they're really, really fast. They're ready to go. But that was using a combination of building a really good API in front of a service that had some great capabilities. We use the same API. We use the same functionality in the API we created for customer onboarding, where when we send a customer an onboarding email saying, hey, welcome to MuleSoft, congratulations, here's your code or here's what you need, that we can verify that they got it. So from a revenue recognition standpoint, we can say, yes, we have reasonable assurance that they got that and that they're able to get up and running. Finally, for customer onboarding, so this automation of getting customers, automatically onboarded to our solution, we actually made the unique component here actually would be the PDF API we created. So one of the things that we wanted was the ability to take the body of the email that we sent them for onboarding the customer and copy it into Salesforce as a PDF. So we said, well, gosh, we might want to do this down the road too. So let's just make a PDF API. And we did. And now you send that PDF API content. And then when it comes back, we copy that information into Salesforce. And that's a function that we can provide. So all of these components are reusable. And what it really is kind of like Ross and Uri have said before, it's like the coolest Lego set ever, where we've got these really great pieces that we can reuse. They're reusable over and over. They're compatible. And when we need to work on a piece, it's like being able to work. If you needed to fix something on the blue Lego and you could fix all the blue Legos at once, like that's really the way that this works. So API-led thinking has a deep business impact for us. It makes a huge difference in my team. I mean, with that, that's all I've got for you today.